Now that we're a bit removed from the Eternal Masters release, it's time to take a look at how the set impacted Magic. I shouldn't have to tell you that this was one of the most hyped sets of all time. Now before we get into the most impactful cards, make sure to stay tuned to this video to find out how you can enter a giveaway for free to win a sealed booster box of Eternal Masters. Seriously, for free, you don't have to pay a dime or do anything crazy. That's right, a box. Oh yes, we're getting crazy around here. So without further ado, let's talk about the most impactful cards reprinted in Eternal Masters and give something away, oh baby. Before we get into the list itself, honorable mentions are always a thing. It's no secret that Eternal Masters reprinted a ton of useful cards for Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. There were dozens of cards that went down in price due to their inclusion in this set. So for honorable mentions, we're looking at the cards that had a predictable but substantial effect in their given formats. Cards like Duplicate and Toxic Deluge, great in Commander, and this printing helped players to afford both. Heritage Druid and Tomb and Young Pyromancer were all solid includes for specific strategies, with Delver, Elves, and Reanimator all popular deck choices in Legacy, and Jace the Mind Sculptor and Shardless Agent deserve special mention because these reprints nuked their prices. I mean, destroyed. Jace is $30 cheaper than before, and Shardless Agent was destroyed so badly that it actually took away from the value of Planechase Anthology. So yeah, Eternal Masters doing work. On to the list itself, we begin at number 5 with Caracas. Originally printed in Legends, Caracas has been a staple in both Legacy and Vintage for years, finding itself in Miracles, the new Eldrazi decks running around, Jeskai Control in Vintage, Shops variants. The list is actually quite long. Caracas was always one of those lands that was just too expensive. Sitting at $170 at its height, Eternal Masters came along and everyone freaked out. Caracas was one of the more expensive pieces to a lot of Legacy strategies. Eternal Masters comes out and wham! Price takes a huge hit, with Legends copies of the card dropping to a bit under $100 each. If that's where the Eternal Masters version landed, that'd still be considered a bargain, but Caracas did better than that. Sitting at around $50 right now, Caracas is as affordable as it's ever been, played more than it's ever been, and owned more than it's ever been. When a card is in almost 30% of all Legacy decks and it takes a financial hit like that, people notice. Coming in at number 4 is one of the other huge bombs of the set, Mana Crypt. Now, Mana Crypt is banned in Legacy and restricted in Vintage, but that doesn't stop players from putting it into 60% of all Vintage strategies. There's a reason there's such a tight leash on this card. It's arguably one of the best mana rocks of all time. To this day, Mana Crypt has never been printed in a real set. First as a media promo, and then as a judge promo, so you can imagine the price previous to Eternal Masters release. Sitting around $170 each, Mana Crypt was needed in Vintage and hugely popular in Commander for those who could afford it. Eternal Masters comes out, Mana Crypt barely drops. It's an unusual sight, right? The book promo stays pretty high, but not to fear. Thanks to Eternal Masters getting an actual print run, unlike promos, the availability of Mana Crypt was way higher than it had ever been. Sitting around $65 now, which is a third of the original book promo price, those who really want Mana Crypt can get it. Or, wait for the giveaway at the end of the video. That works too. Spinning in at number 3 on our most impactful list is Senseis Divining Top. Before its reprint in Eternal Masters, the top had climbed over a matter of years to a whopping $30 each. Pretty insane considering the decks that want to run top usually want to run multiples, and the fact that the card was originally an uncommon made players a bit bitter. Of course, without fail, Eternal Masters launches, Senseis Divining Top is rare shifted, although thankfully not to Mythic, and the top's price plummets. In the top 20 most played cards in Legacy, you can imagine the impact this drop in price had for a lot of players thinking about joining the format. Now you can grab yourself a copy of the top for around $17. Obviously that isn't pennies, but compared to where it was, this reprint was a godsend. Don't even ask me to talk about Commander. According to EDHREC.com, right now, there are over 13,000 submitted decks containing Senseis Divining Top, so yeah, card's impactful. Top 2. Oh man, it's getting real. How real? Cabal Therapy real. Coming in at number 2 is the Therapy. Remember, this list isn't about most expensive, it's about most impactful. And Cabal Therapy is one of the premier hand disruption spells in Magic right now. It's in the top 15 most played cards in Legacy, demanding auto-include status from the likes of Grixis Delver, many Storm variants, not to mention its sideboard inclusion in many other strategies. For being as popular as this card is, its price was criminal. Sitting above $15 for some time in early 2014, it eventually evened out to around $12, but for an uncommon, please, it's unreal. The reprint in Eternal Masters brought with it amazing art, a new border, the possibility for foil copies that don't cost $1 billion, and a $3 price tag. If we're talking about impact, playsets of therapies now cost around $12, which is what one copy used to cost. Discard in Eternal formats has never been so cheap. Baller reprint. Finally made it number 1. Which reprint in Eternal Masters was the most impactful on Magic? Peregrine Drake. No, I am not kidding. This has nothing to do with financial value at all. This has to do with one thing. What's the difference between this Peregrine Drake and this Peregrine Drake? Rarity. That's the difference. Peregrine Drake was printed as a common for the first time ever in Eternal Masters. And you know what that means? That means it's available in Pauper. Mind you, this rarity shift happened in the same year that Cloud of Fairies was banned for the exact same mechanic. Peregrine Drake enters Pauper and within a few weeks completely breaks the format. Pauper is essentially dead because Peregrine Drake warps it too much. You want to talk about truly impactful cards? The Drake ruined an entire format. Now that's impactful. Thankfully, it was emergency banned about a month ago now, but it was legal for far too long. Long enough to put a dark spot on Pauper. It's nasty stuff, that Drake. Dang. I hope you enjoyed our top 5 list of the most impactful cards in Magic from Eternal Masters. Now, as promised, it's time to give away a sealed booster box of Eternal Masters. That's right, giving it away for free, shipped anywhere in the world for free. All you have to do is click the first link in the description and be a YouTube subscriber. That's all you have to do for an entry. If you want additional entries or don't want to subscribe on YouTube, you can follow us on Twitter or on Twitch. For each of those you do, you get an entry into the giveaway. And if you do at least 2 of them, you can get even more bonus entries. Again, all of this for free. Just click the first link in the description. The contest is up for 7 days. At the end of it, the winner will be selected and notified. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.